In today's video, we're going to talk about why your wife can act like she's fine during a divorce or a separation. If your wife is acting like she's living her best life ever, she's got some new friends, she's showing a little cleavage, she's lost a little weight, she's acting like she is not fazed in the least, like everything is probably her best life ever, while you're on the couch, you've lost 40 pounds and you're depressed. Two things that are going to be a little bit different in today's video. Not only am I going to talk about this, you're going to hear this from my wife's perspective when she and I were going through this, when she had filed divorce on me. But most importantly, we're also going to talk about 5 things that you can start doing right away to turn the tides in your favor if you want to lead her back into the relationship, stop the divorce, save the marriage, and if you've already got a divorce, remarry her. Let's get started. The 5th thing that I really do think that is the most important thing of anything that you can do right now if you are a man whose wife wants a divorce. You just got to be coachable. Guys, if you don't already know who I am, my name is Denver Griffin, and joining me today is my wife,
Brandy Griffin.
And I help men who are facing unwanted divorce or separation forever re-attract their wife back the right way, restore and rebuild the relationship, and save the marriage. If you're new to the channel, I want you to do me a favor. Please, please, please. My video editor just told me that less than 4% of my viewers are subscribed to my channel. Guys, I'm doing a new video every single week starting this week. My wife is going to be joining me on some of the new content, which is going to be very encouraging to you to hear these things from a woman's perspective. But what I want you to do is we found out the algorithm is suppressing our videos. The way that you can help these videos reach you moving forward, please, please, please do me a favor. Don't just subscribe to the channel. While I do want you to do that right now, also, for yourself, hit the bell notification and make sure that the settings are set to all so that each new video that we post, it notifies you and the algorithm stirs it up so that you don't miss something that could be vital to saving your marriage or your relationship. Let's get started. Phase number 1 of the video is why she can act like she's fine, why you're going through a divorce or separation. This is the worst thing you've ever been through. You might have lost 40 pounds, you're in manic depression, like this is literally living hell for you. But looking at her, she filed the divorce, she doesn't want you anymore, you want to save the marriage, you actually feel like you need the marriage. This is the worst thing you've ever been through, but when you look at her, she's like, what's up, bro? I'm living my best life ever. I'm showing a little bit of cleavage, hanging out with my new girlfriends. We going to the club, whatever the case. It looks like it's not fazing her, but certainly it's not affecting her the same way that it is you. So what is the first reason? By the way, don't forget at the end of the video, probably going to be the most important part. What are 5 things that you can do to lead her out of that if you want to save the marriage? But it's not going to really work for you unless you understand why, who, what, where, when, and why she's doing what she's doing. The logic psychologically behind it. This will position you through wisdom and understanding that. How do you lead her out of that if you want to save the relationship before it ends? And if you've already got a legal divorce, just because it ends legality on paper doesn't mean you have an emotional divorce. And we'll talk about that at the end of the video. What's the first thing? What is the first reason that a woman, a wife, the mother of my children, can act like she is okay? It's business as normal.
Well, for me, I went through an avoidance stage where I had just kind of had it with certain things, and I didn't want to bring that to the table in the marriage. And so I ran. I was a runner. And for me, avoidance and procrastination was probably the biggest thing for me. And I just wanted to go do like anything I could to like avoid it and ignore it and not address it.
So you mean like when a woman's in this, she's not facing the reality of her situation because she's avoiding even looking at where she's at?
Yes, 100%. Yes.
So the man is completely in the reality. So when we were going through this, I was completely in the reality of it. I was living. It was like a movie, the picture of the reality of where I was. I felt like that she was driving a train to Mexico City, and that once that train reached that destination, she would be pregnant with another man's baby, we would be divorced, and she would be living with somebody that had a bigger thing than me, bigger biceps than me, a bigger bank account than me, and I would be lonely forever as a miserable, lonely fucker sitting over here by myself, desperate,
the desperation,
and hopeless. And so that movie kept playing over and over for me. So what she's saying is she wasn't facing the reality of the situation because she was refusing to even see the movie. 100%. And so it's very normal for a woman to protect herself because here's a fact. Emotionally, women are not wired the same way as a man. So what they'll do is they'll mask over and they refuse to even see not only the picture of where they're at. Right now, you're playing the movie over and over of where you're at. She's not even looking at the picture. She has said, oh, I'm just going to create a new picture that has nothing to do with the marriage, the finances, the kids, or this is the reason that a woman can literally go through this and your kids are having to go through trauma counseling and she's acting like, and you're sitting here thinking, do you not about our kids? Yeah. It's because she doesn't see the picture because she's not facing the reality of the situation. And we know now from extensive psychological studies and even clinical trials that have been done that this is not a bad woman doing this. No. Good women can do very bad things and not realize during the stage that they're even doing it, because as a defense mechanism to protect their sanity and their emotional stability, they will go into psychological denial, and this is a fight or flight response. Mm-hmm. So it's not that she's a bad woman doing this shit that's hurting her own children. It's literally something that she's doing to protect herself as a defense mechanism. And oftentimes women don't realize that they're doing it until one of my students lead them back into the marriage. And as that restoration process takes place, she will see what she's done and she'll feel like shit about it. She'll repent of it. But right now, all the stuff that you think is like your friends and family member are saying, let the bitch go. Like, if she's going to do this, let her go, bro. Like, you don't want. Guess what? That's not really who she is. It's a defense mechanism, and she truly doesn't see what she's doing. Now, for a lot of you narcissistic pigs that are watching the video that make the comments on my channel, that's such a pathetic, what is the word, Ty? Sometimes they'll say, simp. That's a simp thing to do. Guess what? For you assholes that would say that, you're going to be doing this same shit with the next woman. Because if you don't figure out how to attract this woman back, you're going to run into the same thing with the next one.
Repeat.
That's going to hurt you, it's going to hurt the women, and it's going to hurt the children involved, and it's also going to hurt your friends and your family and your coworkers, everybody in your life. So what I'm coaching you on now is not a simp thing to do. No. The only men that show up and make comments like that on my channel or any other channel, or that have given you advice like this, is because they have faced a failed relationship and they did not know who to go to get to help them figure out, how do I save the relationship? So to justify their self so they don't look like a weakling, they show up to call me a simp and say, if she wants out and she's doing those things, you're a simp for wanting her back. And I would say quite the opposite. Yeah. A feminine man that doesn't know how to man up in his masculinity and then lead this woman back by acknowledging where he failed, where he contributed to the failure of the relationship, to the point that this woman got so fucked up that she decided to exit. If we would have got a divorce, it would have harmed you emotionally.
Yes.
It would have harmed you psychologically.
Yes.
It would have definitely have harmed you and all of our children and our grandchildren financially. Yes. It would have been devastating. Yes. And it would have harmed you spiritually, according to the stuff that you've shared with me when we got back together. Okay, so all of that harm would come to her. So does it make sense to keep doing women that way? I call that man a simp, because restoring my relationship with my wife is leaving a legacy for 6 children, and so far as the date of the recording of this video, 7 grandchildren. Yeah. My 7 grandchildren will have spouses, and our 6 children will have spouses. That right there is nearly 30 people that our marriage being saved has affected. So who's the simp, bro? All right, so let's go talk about step number 2. All right, so one of the second things that a woman goes through as you're going through divorce and separation that you may or may not see, in my case, I didn't see it, at least not in the beginning. So what is that? So it starts with a D, and it sounds like oppression.
Depression.
So talk about that a little bit. Tell me your experience and give us wisdom around that, because it did not look to me like you were going through depression. I thought boobs were perky, you were going out, new friends, establishing old friendships with a bunch of hookers, in my opinion. So you certainly didn't look like depressed. You looked like you were going out having a martini, living your best life ever.
Yes, so at first I was like happy, made it all seem great, but then I slipped into depression, and I masked that from you and the world, and yeah. When
you say you mask it from the world, so I certainly didn't know about the depression. No. You did a great job masking it from me, but what do you call in the world? At the time, you're living with your daughter, and so did she know you were going through depression? Or were you hiding it from her too?
I kind of hid it from everybody. But
what about your girlfriends? that you were going out with?
Maybe one that I would talk to about it, but no, I just tried to pick myself up every day, but I slowly started to crawl in the bed more, but when I needed to rally, I could.
So here's the thing. A lot of women go through depression, and it's very obvious to the
Yes.
man. And what she does is typically will gaslight him and make him feel responsible for the depression. And guess what? You may have definitely contributed to
And
that.
I did that to you.
But men will start believing
Yes.
if she's in depression, our marriage cannot be restored
Yes.
until her counselor, which by the way,
I did not have a counselor,
which by the way,
but it's common.
but it's very normal for a
Yes.
woman to be going through counseling for depression. She makes you aware she's going through it. The counselor will lead her to believe she should never go back in a restored marriage
Yes.
until she works through her trauma or her depression, which by the way, this counselor most likely, raise your hand, put in the comments if your wife's going to a counselor, and that counselor happens to be billing by the hour.
Well-
So now I'm not saying that a counselor would ever do this.
But they put ideas into their head also to stretch
What
out the
the-
problems, and they give them more ideas to make their issues seem more than what it is. And it makes it like a bigger deal, and it confuses your wife. Just saying.
You're 100%. And guess what? Your wife may not have a counselor that's billing her $125 an hour. But by the way, I want to point out something real quick. If your wife does have a counselor that's billing her $125 an hour, I'm under the assumption that every counselor on every continent of this earth where counselors exist, okay, I'm sure they're all honest and ethical and all walking in their integrity, and it's not just about making money for them. I'm sure of that, right? But is there even a remote possibility that it might be in the counselor's best interest if your wife continues seeing them for, I don't know, 6 months, a year, or 2 years?
Yeah. Yeah.
By the way, post-traumatic stress disorder. Put in the comments if your wife's been diagnosed or dealing with that. Did you know that the word disorder means it's not a mental illness?
Yeah.
And that in one coaching session, somebody could literally be no longer in a disorder. So disorders, borderline personality disorder. A lot of you watching this video, your wife has borderline personality disorder.
Right.
If you notice symptoms where she's gaslighting you, you can look this up. Google borderline personality disorder. If you do that in the United States, you're going to pull up something called Out of the Fog. You should go read a lot of that, and it's going to tell you what you're dealing with. Just because your wife might be dealing with depression. So a lot of you, she's dealing with active depression that you're aware of. Put in the comments if that's you. And you've been gaslighted into believing that your marriage is not going to be restored until she deals with that. Guess what? You want to help her deal with that fast and furious? You want to help her snap out of depression? If your marriage is restored, statistically based on numbers, and I'm all about the math, I'm all about the science, I'm all about what's happened, what can happen, because we can recreate it. Your marriage being restored can help her get past the trauma.
Yes.
Because part of the reason she's stuck in the trauma is it's a response to the marriage failing. And that's one of the reasons it's exasperated the PTSD from childhood trauma. Guess what else?
Right.
For a lot of you, your wife doesn't have a counselor that's billing her by the hours, but she's established a friendship
Yes.
with what I call an enemy of the marriage. It's
Yes.
almost always another miserable woman that's had failed relationship after failed relationship after failed relationship.
And remember, misery loves company.
Misery loves misery.
And that's where she's probably being led.
That woman is counseling your wife.
Yeah.
She's not a legal counselor. She hasn't been to school for it, but she's counseling your wife to exit the marriage, to support her,
Yeah.
to go be miserable with her.
Together.
Put in the comments if that's you. By the way, we have
So
a program
common.
that addresses that, and these videos, if you'll watch all my videos on YouTube, I talk about this extensively. That's called an enemy of the marriage. I had an enemy of my marriage. Now, I would think that you would even say that my enemy of the marriage was also your enemy of the marriage, because even though that enemy of the marriage had good intentions to support you, she was enabling you to fucking ruin your life. Would you agree with that?
Sure, yes.
100%.
Yes.
So why would you agree with that?
Well, when you have family members, friendships, even co-friendships with the husband and the wife, for me, it's misery loves company, and be careful who you are associated with and who you're listening to.
Yeah.
And don't talk too much for the husband and the wife, because you don't want to be led down a road that you're not supposed, God does not intend for you to be led by other people.
I love that you actually told the men, because my viewers are 99.97% men, and that's the way we want to keep it, because that's my calling, that's my niche. But I love that you said, so for the women, they should be careful who they're talking to,
Yes.
because they're getting support to not just ruin their life, but to ruin their husband's life, and
The family.
oftentimes their children's
whole
life.
family, yes.
It takes the ship down. So the Bible says that pride goeth before the fall. The woman can fall, but when a woman falls in a marriage, she will take the man with her. If he doesn't know what to do, she doesn't know what to do to lift herself back up, and she thinks she's getting support the right way. And what she's really doing is taking the whole family down unintentionally. Now, that's not saying that a woman should stay in a marriage where she's being abused.
No.
I'm the first person to say, get out of it.
Yeah.
I'm also the first person to say that even if that's the case, there's possibility it could be restored
Yes.
if everybody gets help. I would never say for somebody to stay in that situation.
If leadership can change,
Yeah.
yes.
100%.
Yes.
So let's go down to the next thing. So you're talking about somebody leading somebody to something. All right. Reason number 3 that a woman can act like, I'm good, bruh, is pride and embarrassment.
Yes.
Talk about that.
Okay.
Let's go back for a second, though. I didn't finish what I was saying earlier. She just told you men, be careful who you're talking to.
Yes.
You're telling all your bros, you're telling your preacher, you're telling your mama and your daddy.
You're
and
desperate. You're reaching out
I
to
want to save my
everybody.
marriage. You don't know what she's doing, whatever. All you're doing is giving them evidence to confirm the bias they have against her. And they are literally all going to tell you, walk away from the bitch. You can go and pull up preachers that'll tell you, if they walked, let them go. I will literally watch a preacher that I absolutely love, and I listened to that sermon day and night, and it was the foolish fucking advice that I have ever been given. Now, there's psychologically some things in that you can use to restore the marriage.
Yeah.
Meaning, if you need the marriage, I'm here to tell you it is not going to be restored until you no longer need it. I teach men how to let that part go.
Yeah.
But letting go of the marriage, if you truly love her, let her go. Let her become worse off financially, emotionally, spiritually.
It's not trying to control.
That's so stupid.
It's not trying to control the situation.
Give up control.
Give up control.
Of her.
Yes.
But take control of your masculine leadership.
Yes.
And when she said, be careful who you're talking to, listen, your wife is probably talking to a lot of people right now, and it is leading the train to Mexico City, and you're an unwanted passenger. She's not about to ruin just her life, maybe your kid's life. She's about to ruin your life.
And I will tell you this.
You can lead her out of it, though.
By you talking to all the friends and the neighbors and the family,
You're making it worse.
You are so unattractive when you do that. You're shoving her out of the door. She will think you're gross and disgusting for even doing that. It's a thing. Trust
She
me.
will. She will. It'll
She'll
undermine.
run.
It'll confirm the bias she has
Yes.
against you. If you're watching the video, she may have confirmation bias. 2% of you, your wife has confirmation bias. You will never restore this marriage
No.
without a full-blown transformation program.
Shut your mouth.
If she has transformation bias.
Get with God and shut your mouth.
Yeah, get with God, but also get with somebody that's been in your situation.
Yes.
Right now, how many of you men are talking to people that might have been in your situation, but they've never taken the train where you want to take yours? Yours is heading to Mexico City. If it reaches that destination, game over. She's married to another man.
Right.
She's pregnant with another man's baby, and the door closes forever. A lot of you watching this video right now, you might literally on this video be at a crossroads where the decision you make at the end of this video, because I'm going to tell you about a masterclass. It's a free marriage U-turn masterclass. We can turn this around possibly with that masterclass, and it's free to you. You might be at a crossroads right now just watching this video where the decision that you make on this video, today you've been going left. And you've been doing that for weeks, for some of you months, for some of you maybe even a year.
Yeah.
You've been going left. Today, I'm going to give you an opportunity to turn right. The decision you make at the end of this video today
Is life changing, guys.
could very well determine what the rest of your life looks like. And here's why. Time is only on your side if you put it there.
Yeah.
And for a lot of you, you might be in the months that I call the danger zone. For some of you that have already got a legal divorce, you might be in the year that I call the danger zone, meaning that door is likely going to close forever if you don't do something radically different and radically fast. And if that is where you're at, information on YouTube will never save your marriage. You need a transformation.
You need to dig deeper.
That will not happen without a transformation program, whether it's mine or somebody else's. I give insight into that into the free marriage U-turn masterclass, and we'll talk about that in a little bit. I told you the most important part of this video is what can you do if this is where you're at, and we're going to get to that after the next step. So the next step is what here? I wrote this down, but I can't see in my older age here, even though I'm such a young virile man, is hormones.
Yes.
or chemicals. Let's talk about this. A lot of you are dealing with hormones and chemicals. So talk about your wisdom around that, because I know you've had a lot of friends around that and you've dealt with that some yourself.
Yes, so hormonal changes in your wife can create mood swings. It's just very normal. It's very normal. So take that into consideration. And then also if she's on medications, that is a huge thing, because so many people are medicated for like depression or like whatever. But just be aware that medication and her hormone shifts can also cater to behavior changes. So be mindful of that.
So what does that mean? Let me tell you this. Confirmation bias in a woman can be activated with a hormone in her body or a drug in her body. So let me give you an example. I was diagnosed with stage 4 throat cancer and was told by 2 doctors that I need to go on hospice. I had less than 6 months to live. That was a worldwide journey. You hear me talk about that a lot in the video. And I use that wisdom to help restore marriages, because I learned a lot about the brain going through that, meeting some doctors on clinical trials on how the brain works and how we change it. But here's what I want to bring up on that. At the very end of that treatment, that throat cancer, I had tumors all over my tongue and stuff. And so they killed those tumors with treatment. But at the end of that, they put me on a medication called Wellbutrin. No, not Wellbutrin. It was, whatever it was, it's not supposed to affect anything. The doctors assured me this would not alter my brain chemistry at all. It's called gabapentin.
Gabapentin.
Okay.
My dad just got put on it and we made him get off of it.
I started waking up in the morning, and I consciously remember my first thought when I would open my eyes is, why in the F do I feel rage? I feel intense anger, like rage. I would wake up by myself. She was already out of bed and gone. There was no reason to be emotional or angry. Nobody had done anything to me. I felt rage. Okay, so here's my question. Do you know how many men I have helped save their marriage because they entered a divorce proceeding because confirmation bias was activated whenever their wife got on testosterone, when she started going through perimenopause?
I have so many friends that their doctor put them on too much testosterone. They lost interest in their husband. They wanted to go have an affair. They felt like men. They were just like raging, like same thing, like crazy.
And here's the thing.
Out of character for
These
them.
medications such as gabapentin or cancer medications or hormone changes
Can change you.
or being a middle-aged woman and you're entering that season of your life.
Yes.
Maybe your hair's falling out and your doctor says, oh, let's get on something for your hair and your nails.
Be careful.
Let's get on some birth control pills. Any of those things, they're not the reason that you're getting a divorce, but they can very well be the reason that activates psychological confirmation bias. Just because a medication activated psychological confirmation bias doesn't mean your marriage can't be restored. We can totally undo that with the right coaching, but it's certainly the reason that when a woman has those things, she's on testosterone, she can go off and act like everything is okay.
Yes.
And guess what? She's crying at night and she has confirmation bias. That doesn't mean your marriage can't be fixed. You don't have to wait until she's not depressed anymore. You don't have to wait until she's not taking testosterone.
Correct.
You don't have to wait until her PTSD is being cured. Put in the comments where you're at with any of these things if this is your situation.
And it might even be something that you're taking that's driven her to confirmation bias, but it can all be fixed. You just have to recognize the situation.
100%, she would have never filed a divorce against
No.
me if I had never been prescribed and taken gabapentin.
It was like he went crazy.
Okay, so guess what? Even though I went crazy, I acted like a narcissistic asshole and said some very mean and hurtful things to her, and I destroyed the marriage. I could go and say, oh, well, I blame that on gabapentin. That's why I was doing this, whatever. That's me holding on to the story. Here's the fact. If I wanted my marriage restored, I had to get off my ass. I'm sitting here I'm sitting here for 3 months saying, God, please bring the wall down that she has up. And God said, and I started believing the shit that I would see on these Facebook groups.
Yeah.
Give your marriage to God, bro, if it's his will. Bullshit. Bull.
You have to do your own research.
God does not have a return desk for your marriage. I am a Christian and I get so much hate from the Christian community because it infuriates me that Christians go and sell a lie that you're supposed to give your marriage back to God and you're supposed to just sit there. Listen, even the Israelites, I talk about this a lot in my channel. In Jerusalem, or in Israel, they wanted God to bring down a wall. And God said, I will gladly bring down the wall. I will do it. It's the easiest thing. It is. I tell all of my students every morning when you get up, if you want your marriage restored, put on your tie. How many, put in the comments if you see the tie I'm wearing right now. Denver, are you crazy? Is that gabapentin still in your system? No, the tie stands for your mindset.
Yeah.
To restore a marriage, it is the easiest thing in the world to do if you have the correct knowledge, wisdom, and understanding. And what I mean by all of my students wear a tie, this is easy. When I started understanding that to restore a marriage, it is a mindset. It is psychological.
And the mindset is what we teach. If it's to be, it's up to me.
And this is easy. Even the Bible says, if you want a different life, be transformed by the renewing of your mind.
Yep.
And out of the overflow of the heart, the mouth speaks. You've been speaking death into your marriage because your mind has not been transformed. Information on YouTube is not going to give you a transformation if she has confirmation bias. If she has confirmation bias.
You need the tools.
Now, if she don't have confirmation bias, this video and the free marriage U-turn masterclass could actually turn it all around.
You need the tools and the wisdom and the right understanding of how to go about it. Just period.
All right, so 5 things to do if you want to save the marriage if this is truly where you're at. So step number 1. I was holding on to the story that I give my marriage to God and he was going to bring the wall down. Guess what? God did bring the wall down when I decided to take ownership of my marriage, go to the refund desk, the return desk that I took my marriage to when I gave it to God, and realized that there was no cashier working at the return desk because God was not accepting the return of my marriage because he gave it to me and he did not want it back. And instead of me saying, God, please bring the wall down, God was all about bringing the wall down. I'm fully believing in that, 100%. But even in the Bible, God did not bring the wall down until his people followed his instructions. It's called faith without works is dead. I talk about that a lot of the video. So I had to stop saying, well, I was on gabapentin. That's why I was a narcissistic asshole.
No excuse.
Guess what? That was a reason. But even the best reason in the world, valid or not, is still just an excuse, as my grandson just reminded me. So how do you do that? You let go of the stories you're telling yourself because that's aligning your actions with your feelings. I had to say, regardless of why the marriage has failed, she's filed for a divorce, and I'm at risk of her maybe these hookers that she's befriended, the enemies of the marriage she starts hanging out with, and they're trying to enable her, leave him forever. Once a pig, always a pig. You know, I had to figure out, what do I do to actually reattract her back and change the narrative here?
And be responsible for your leadership and your family.
There are so many YouTube channels that are saying, don't have any contact, no contact with her, and become the best version of yourself. Get your biceps bigger, add 4 more inches on the Grow It Yourself program. All of that's amazing, and it'll get you out of depression. But guess what? If she doesn't change, your marriage is not going to be restored. So what you've got to do is truly, the first thing you do want to do is step number 1, change yourself in your heart. So increase in your spice, your spiritual, your physical, your intellectual, your character, and your emotional attractiveness. Denver, that sounds really good. Help me clarify that so I can start doing this right away. If you're a believer in the creator of creation like I am, God, I literally had an aha moment. How do I smell to God? If I look at my life, if I look at who I'm gossiping to about my marriage, if I look at who I'm complaining to, if I look at the refund desk that I gave my marriage back to God and expected him to do it all because I didn't know what else to do, because the idiots that I was talking to had been in failed marriages, but they had never figured out how to actually take action steps to restore their marriage.
And they still have regret.
And I was listening to that bullshit. Them telling me you're just a simp if you don't... Whatever.
Take control of yourself.
Go look at their lives today. Guess what? Not a life that I want.
Still regret.
So step number 1 is truly change yourself. And so here's what I mean by that. The way that you can identify the changes that you need to make is say, how do I smell to God? And if you actually are going to be honest with yourself, look in the mirror and say, how do I smell to her? And if you guys were back together, would she really like the aroma that you're currently giving off? If you're going and bitching about all of your friends and your family and maybe even your preacher, and really if you're honest with yourself trying to make her look bad because she doesn't want the marriage, guess what? You need to change that. You literally need to become the best option. Okay? And even that's not enough, but that's the first step.
Yep.
You want to add anything to that about becoming the better option? A man should trim his waistline down. His biceps should get bigger. So he should become more. How many of you, put this in the comments, how many of you, your teeth are fucked up? I get a lot of students and their front teeth are fucked up. you should go fix that while you're in a separation.
Sure. So
That's something you could do, increasing your spice. But add to that.
Yes. So anything that you can
Crest
do.
white strips, by the way.
Yes.
Order them right now.
100%. The gym, getting in shape, eating right. We all get comfortable in marriage, and sometimes it's lazy, right? I mean, all the time. It's just us getting lazy.
Now, in my case, I didn't need to lose any weight because I was 87
Yeah,
pounds from chemo and radiation.
no.
Just to clarify, she didn't leave me going through chemo and radiation.
No.
She got my ass back on my feet.
Yeah.
And then I literally ran her off. After I was healthy enough to take care of myself again, then that's when I ran her off and she said, okay, I can't take it anymore.
Finally,
okay,
right?
But once she left, I was like, oh shit, I totally messed up. I kept using the D word with her. Do you think I really wanted a D? No, I didn't. I wanted my marriage to change and I was miserable and I didn't know how to change it. And I thought if I used the D word, that would provoke her to get with me to change. How many of you have made that stupid ass mistakes?
Bad idea.
Put that in the comments.
Bad
brother.
idea. Yes.
But guess what? We all do it. We all do.
Yeah.
It's aligning your actions with your
your
feelings,
yes.
which is a
Yes.
feminine trait.
And then you spew it out, and that's a bad idea.
All right. The second thing that you can do, so get yourself in check. Okay, guess what? When I realized I needed to get myself in check, I needed to actually gain weight. So I got in the gym, I started eating good. I actually started getting Botox to get rid of some of the wrinkles. My teeth got fucked up laying down 2 years with cancer. So I did some things to like whiten them up and kind of straighten them up a little bit.
It's all about attractiveness and to feel good about yourself, but
guess what happened? It looked like on the surface that it was backfiring because she resented that.
Oh, I was pissed.
So here's the thing. You are supposed to do all the things I just named off.
Yeah.
But if you do that and only that, it will backfire,
Yes.
which is the reason I really believe all the other programs that out there that are in the market of what we do.
Yeah.
I have a program called Divorce Stoppers, and the reason I get so many, did you know that I would say, I don't remember the number exactly, but it's probably close to 40% of our students, and I might be off on that, I have to go back and look, but they come from other programs.
Yes.
Because the other programs make you feel good about yourself, they get your biceps bigger,
But
they'll teach you to make your face look
but the
more
marriage-
beautiful, more
the marriage
handsome.
isn't restored.
But she resents the changes. So how many of you're in another program and she resents the changes because I'm giving you
Nothing
wisdom.
happens after that.
I'm giving you wisdom. What you're doing is you're living your best life now, but you're leaving her still in misery, and she's
she
not.
hates you for it.
That's not enough. She hates you for it. She'll resent you for it. So yes, you do need to become the best version of yourself.
Yes.
But step number 2,
Keep going.
realize all your changes are not enough if she has confirmation bias. So if she has confirmation bias, your marriage will not be restored, literally becoming the best option.
No.
So if your biceps get bigger, your checking account increase, you start your own business and it's successful, your skin clears up, the wrinkles are gone, your teeth are straightened up, your teeth are white, and you add 4 inches to Mr. down there, you literally have become husband of the year. That's not enough.
No.
If she has confirmation bias, you've got to figure out what to do to psychologically lead her back into the marriage. I became the best version of myself. I increased spiritually, physically, emotionally, character, and emotional attractiveness, all of the areas of spice, but it wasn't enough until I started understanding my wife had confirmation bias. She had confirmed the bias against the marriage long enough in our separation that my changes were literally pissing her off because it wasn't not enough because I didn't completely understand how do I lead her to change. When a woman has confirmation bias, if she doesn't also change, game over. She will end up with another man.
Yeah.
She'll regret it,
Yes.
but not until about a year into that relationship.
Yes.
The good news is that if you can identify that that's where you're at. So for 2% of you watching this video, your wife does have confirmation bias.
Yep.
If that's where she's at, you will never restore this marriage before she ends up with another man. But she already has a boyfriend. What? She's already living with him.
And that's common too.
You know what? If she is not remarried, awesome. Bring it. Those are the fastest and easiest marriages to restore because the man she's hooked up with, he hasn't been through my program and he doesn't know how to lead her back.
Through your
And what'll
leadership.
happen through your leadership,
Yes.
he will start getting selfish and literally push her back to you.
Yes.
Yeah.
But this program, that's what we teach.
Yeah, and all of you don't need the program, but some of you, time is on your side if you put it there.
Yes.
But just realize you becoming the best version of yourself can backfire if she has confirmation bias. You should become the best version of yourself, but there's more to it. You've got to add to it and lead her out of confirmation. Well, Denver, how would I lead her out of confirmation bias? Literally, it takes 7 weeks to biologically change through psychological changes.
Yes.
7 weeks of psychological leadership will
steps.
biologically get rid of her confirmation bias. That's what the Bible means when it says you've got to be transformed by the renewing of your mind. Not only can you do that yourself, you are the only person on the planet
capable of
that can lead her to do the same thing in this area. Okay, step number 3. Change her PTSD, childhood trauma, confirmation bias, depression, but stay in the masculine. So let's talk about that.
Yep.
So she has PTSD, she has trauma, she's going through counseling for depression, and she has confirmation bias. What can I do? So that was what we just talked about. What can I actually do? Well, first, we've got to identify it, okay? We've got to identify it. So you know she's going through childhood traumas. You've got to change your thought on that. Right now, put in the comments if you have been led through her gaslighting because her counselor or her friend, which has been counseling her, has led her to believe she could never come back into the marriage until she deals with her own shit from
childhood trauma.
Bro, listen to me. Listen to me. How old were you guys when you got married? She had that shit before the marriage.
Her whole life. I mean,
you had a good marriage, which means if you want to have a good marriage again, you don't have to wait until she's healed from that, and you don't have to be enrolled in her leadership telling you that I can't come back into the marriage until I deal with my own
dealt
issue.
with all this stuff.
Bro,
you can walk that together. You can't.
Now, she doesn't believe that
No.
because right now it's not true. Why is it not true, Denver? Because you don't know what to do to make it not true.
Yep.
And that's what I start teaching in the Free Marriage U-Turn Masterclass. And if you need more help than that, I actually have a program called Divorce Stoppers, and I'll give you the website for that here in just a little bit. All right, so let's go on to the next thing. But something else too is you got to do this, okay? It is very normal when a woman's depressed, PTSD, whatever. The man try to cater to her to the point that she loses. I don't know why I'm itching like hell, so please forgive me for scratching my face off in this video, but we're not going to pause it, and I'm not going to make my video editor. We're going to keep going because the goal here is to help you, not make me look pretty. Okay, so let's talk about this. If I'm seeing that you're in depression and all these things, in the beginning, it is human nature for me to align my actions with my feelings about the relationship, where I literally start pivoting into the feminine, and I did this. When I decided I did want the marriage, she lost respect, even more respect for me, because I started letting her use me and run all over me. She started swiping the debit card and the credit card more often because I thought if I'm Mr. Nicey Nice, then maybe there's a chance that the marriage will be restored. But yet she was swiping my credit card to go have drinks with her friends. And that was causing you to lose respect for me. So where is the line that a man draws? How does he still walk in the masculine, keep his respect by being respectable, at the same time not being an asshole, but being positive, polite, and playful? Where's the line? If you could give me one piece of advice to the men watching this, where's the line where I can be positive, polite, and playful? For a lot of you, you're not positive, polite, and playful right now.
No.
You are the 3 C's. I just gave you the 3 P's, which is what it takes to restore a marriage. Part of it. Now, not just that, but that's part of it. But today, you are walking in the 3 C's. You're condemning her for her actions. She doesn't want the marriage. It's hurting you. It's hurting the kids. It's hurting her. You're condemning. You're complaining about what she's doing.
Yeah.
And you're complaining, condemning, and criticizing her in one way or the other. You might not be verbalizing criticizing, but are your Facebook posts? When you're posting scriptures on your Facebook because she's ran from Jesus and you've ran to him, are your new Facebook posts with your increased faith in God, is that condemning, complaining, or criticizing and literally a stumbling block to her faith and pushing her further away? So anything you want to share about that? I know I probably I'm the mouth and she is too. I might have let the cat out of the bag with all that. But what would you say about that?
Exactly what you just said. And we teach this in the program. That's why this.
But how does a man maintain the masculine while still being positive, polite, and playful?
Right.
Like, I don't want to cut the credit card off, but should I?
This is just
Because she's losing respect.
Sure.
Because a lot of men, a lot of you put in the comments, is she using you? And you don't know how to stop that.
Well, she's avoiding what's going on.
But a lot of women are going to take advantage of the situation.
Well, that's true. That is true.
But they're doing that to confirm. The reason they take advantage of the situation
Because you let them.
But what they're doing is subconsciously, and a lot of women don't know that they're doing this, they're looking for another reason to confirm the bias. You don't deserve respect.
Yeah.
And if your freaking card is getting swiped, and you're coming and you're still acting like a husband
Or
when she
even
is
not the card being swiped, just her not wanting to spend time with you, and it goes more than money.
Well, exactly what I was
her
saying.
not even want to spend time with you, her avoiding family get-togethers or whatever that looks like for your family. She's totally shifted. She's running.
Let me wrap it up with one
she's
statement.
An avoider.
What I would say to make sure that you're staying in the masculine, and that you're not causing, your action steps are not causing her to lose respect for you. Stop acting like a husband if she's not acting like a wife. Now, that don't mean that you have to do no contact, which is foolish, stupid. You'll never restore a marriage without intimacy. There's no way to have intimacy, which is the Latin derivative of intimacy, right? You'll never have a marriage without intimacy. Intimacy is impossible without contact. If you stop having contact with somebody, love will fade. The heart doesn't grow fonder with absence. It forgets your ass.
Yep.
So do not do that stupid shit unless you're a college student and you're a freshman year.
You got a little boo.
You've been dating her for 3 months and she's decided she don't want to be with you.
Totally different story.
No contact works
This
great
is
for
long-term
that.
relationship
And look at the people
or
teaching that
marriage.
bullshit. They're not wearing a wedding ring most likely, okay?
Yeah.
So don't do that. But what you also don't want to do is allows her to diminish any remaining respect. And what you're doing is you're still showing up like her husband. Honestly, you're showing up better than you were when you were a husband.
You're being more intentional.
For the first time in a long time, you're actually acting like a husband.
Yeah.
And she is not acting like a wife. And if you let the paradigm keep traveling in that direction, it's going to shift to game over forever, because any ounce of respect she has left for you will go away. But now what you don't want to do is you don't want to go no contact, and you don't want to start being condemning, complaining, or controlling.
Be different.
Condemning, complaining, or criticizing, but also controlling. You don't want to pivot back to any of those things. You want to be positive, polite, and playful. You want to be her friend, but you don't want to act like her husband. So,
No.
By the way, all this stuff, I'm basically outlining a lot of the things that I do in my 7-week course. Of course, I can't tell you everything that I teach
but
in a
these are the-
7-week.
these are a lot of the points
These are
to
some of the
touch
good
on.
points that'll help you.
Yeah.
So this leads me to the next thing, is align your actions. So this is something that's very, very, very important. The most important is number 5, but this is number 4. Align your actions with your goals, not your feelings. Okay, so what's some examples here? If your wife has confirmation bias, and even if she doesn't, you're not going to get back together. But if she has confirmation bias, you 100% will not restore the marriage unless you employ a series of pushes, a series of pulls, and some seasoning of provoking her to anger, because this is how you reestablish communication and build intimacy, by providing the safe place for her to open up, to throw you under the bus. You'll never establish intimacy with somebody unless they believe that you see, hear, or value them, their perspective, and their point of view. That's what creates intimacy. That's not going to happen until you start aligning your actions with your goals, because you aligning your actions with your feelings is ruining the relationship even more. It's giving gasoline, it's adding gas to the fire for the train. You're adding coal to the train that's heading to Mexico City, which is where it's game over. She's with another man, she's pregnant with another man's babies. If she's 65 years old and can't become pregnant, she's about to be married to another man if you don't start aligning your actions with your goals. So I just gave you some of the things that it's going to take that are going to be uncomfortable. Is you're going to have to push her buttons, but you need to be educated on how to respond when she starts opening up. When you piss her off to the point that she comes and lambs bash you, well, right now, maybe she's already doing that. And if you're not restoring your marriage when she's coming at you like a machete or a machine gun, opening up and vomiting her negative feelings,
right,
that is a perfect opportunity to take the first step to restoring a marriage. It's why in the Divorce Stoppers program, I say if you don't turn the marriage around, I didn't say fully restore it, but that train that's heading to
Make
divorce,
a shift.
the train that's heading to divorce, if you don't put the brakes on it and completely know that it's 100% in reverse by day 7 or 10, then you're not doing what I'm teaching, because it is not only possible, but those results are typical in the Divorce Stoppers program. Well, how do we do that? Through a series of pushes and pulls and creating intimacy via text message in the beginning. And then once you kind of have that down, well, Denver, why do you do it via text message? Because you can backspace on a text message and edit what you're sending. Whereas once you get really good at that, then you're qualified to do it in person verbally.
It's following the steps.
You can turn a train around a marriage in 7 days via text message.
100%.
And I give you the pointers on how to start doing that in the free Marriage U-Turn Masterclass that we're going to talk about here in just a minute. But were you going to say something on that?
Well, no, just these steps are gold, because the pushes and the pulls are appropriate at certain times, and you don't know when to do that. No one does.
Here's something else too. A marriage that has trauma. Maybe you cheated on her, maybe all kinds of shit. Everybody's got shit that's been under the bridge.
You could have caused the whole thing. She could have caused the whole thing.
You both caused the whole thing.
Right.
I'm just here to tell you, you
It's
both caused
village.
it. But guess what? You trying to get her to see that right now is stupid.
Don't
So
even.
particularly if you're in a counseling session, I'm going to give one example. Maybe you have scarred her spiritually. And I'll give an example. You cheated on her, and that's hurt her. There's a million different things. A lot of you have scarred her spiritually, you don't even know it. Maybe she's told you that and you don't believe it. The spiritual traumas that you've experienced, in other words, anything where you have done to betray her, fuck her over, whatever, that is going to need to be dealt with. And for a lot of you, you think you've dealt with it, and I'm here to tell you, if you're watching this video, you 100% have not dealt with it the right way. In 11 years of doing what I do here and helping men restore their marriage when their wife doesn't want to, I've never met one man, even if he came from another program, that dealt with that shit the right way. But here's the thing, you got to do it on the right time. Until she starts falling back into the relationship, it is bad wisdom to start trying to address that shit. It is the reason that over almost 100% of people that go to a marriage counselor, their marriage is in the high 90s. If you go to a marriage counselor, unless you're one of my students, you're probably going to get a divorce. Why? Because the first thing they want to do is start dealing with shit. You are not strong enough in your marriage. You're not ready for it because you don't even understand how she feels and how she perceives. You don't see her perspective. You are not ready for it. And guess what? She's not ready for it because right now she's out of the marriage. If you're in marriage counseling, guarantee you your wife is already out the door. 100% guarantee you she is most likely out the door. A woman will go to marriage counseling to justify reasons to say, well, at least I can say I tried. And marriage counseling always makes it worse. I love counselors. I fucking hate marriage counseling because it does not work. And I'm basing that on statistical numbers, not my feelings. No. Why doesn't it work? Because the first thing they want to do is start talking about the problem, and a marriage is not ready to talk about a problem until she feels heard, valued, and seen, and until you're taught how to actually see and hear her. And I promise you, you're watching the video right now, you don't know how to do that. Watch all of my videos and you'll start getting how to do that. The Free Marriage U-Turn Masterclass, I teach you how to start doing that. And after you have started rebuilding intimacy, even in the Divorce Stoppers program with our paid students, I don't even go there until step number 8 in the program in week number 4, because you nor she is ready to address that until enough intimacy and restoration, quite frankly, has taken place. When you go through a month of restoration, to make sure that it doesn't dissolve again, that shit, all of that shit that flowed under the bridge, it does have to be dealt with once the marriage is strong enough.
It's baby steps
to deal with it. But you got to do it on smart timing.
Right. Timing is everything.
So here's my question to you. Give me some content for the next videos. And by the way, I respond to 100% of my comments. What shit are you responsible for that has flowed under the bridge? What is the stupid thing that you did that you truly think was the factor that possibly triggered confirmation bias to be activated. What did you do to contribute to the actual physical separation, or if you're doing an in-house separation, or if you've already got legally divorced, what was the big aha thing that you did that you guys never could figure out how to heal your marriage after that? Put that in the comments. I'll respond to each and every comment, and it also gives me some video ideas for the upcoming videos. We're about to take a 125% increase in the video content that we're going to be putting out in the next 8 weeks. So put that in the comments right now. All right, so the fifth thing that I really do think that is the most important thing of anything that you can do right now, if you are a man whose wife wants a divorce, or she's already got a legal divorce, or she's already filed a divorce, she is not interested in saving it. Or even if she's telling you she is, she's not taking action steps to do that, and she's gaslighting you, acting like she is, as she is taking the steps to exit the relationship, okay? The number one, listen, when I was in your shoes, I was delusional. I'm just going to give my marriage to God. I'm praying, thinking I have all the time in the world. I did the same thing in my first marriage. My wife and I both come from unwanted divorces. We both wanted our families restored the first time around. We're in a blended family and second marriages. I read letters that you wrote to your ex-husband, wanting him to level up. You wanted to have a good life. You wanted to have a good marriage. You also had confirmation bias in that marriage, and he probably did too, just like I did in mine. Where I made a mistake in my first marriage that I almost made in my second marriage, where we would have been divorced, game over forever, and today she would be with another man, probably fucking miserable, repeating the same nightmare over and over. If I hadn't have stepped up in my leadership and figured out, how do I give her grace? How do I give myself grace? And then not only change myself, but lead her to change. How do I do that? But for a season in my first marriage, I was delusional and I thought I had plenty of time. I thought I had plenty of time. But guess what? I didn't. I ran out of time. And in that marriage, the door closed before I could heal it because I literally ran out of time. And I'm not going to give the reasons because I don't want to badmouth anybody else.
Sure.
But I'm not going to give the reasons, but I will tell you that door closed forever. And it was 100% because I let it run out of time. So in step number 5, the most important thing that you can do. And by the way, I'm going to give you a few more things. I know a lot of times with these YouTube videos, when you get to the end of it, you're like, oh, I'm at the end of them. No, I'm going to give you so much more stuff, and it's all right here at the end. So watch this video until the very fucking end, okay? The most important thing that you can do is not do something that I did. I was delusional, thinking I'm going to drive down the road and a magical unicorn is going to cross, and then I'm just going to wake up one day, and the hell that I'm living in, I'm going to wake up one day and she's magically beside me. I hit the unicorn in the road, it absorbed into my car, and that night in my sleep, I would transition magically, and I would wake up and my beauty queen would be laying beside me, and this nightmare was over.
It's not a
Listen
thing.
to me.
Not a thing.
That is not going to fucking happen. I believe that shit in my first marriage because my preacher and my best friend was saying, give it to God. It's going to be, you know, easy. I don't think it was necessarily God's will that that marriage end, but it did. And she ended up having another husband. A 23-year marriage ended. And I was about to face the same thing with my new soulmate, the woman that I love more than anything in my life. And I knew it was God's will that this marriage was saved, but you got to align your action with your faith. Do not be delusional that God is going to come in and magically restore your marriage. You've got to get up off your ass and do your part.
Do the work.
Align your actions. And I don't even know that I would call it work. And the reason I don't like the word, you're spot on.
Do your part.
It is work.
Yeah.
But the reason I don't like the connotation of that is because all the other programs teach it's going to be so hard.
No.
And as a man, I believe if I want bigger biceps, I got to go through the pain. No pain. Listen. That doesn't work to restore a marriage.
No.
What restores a marriage is doing it the easy way.
Yeah.
And so, yes,
You
it is.
make it easy.
It is work, but it's
It's
easy.
a mindset, and
It
that's
is-
what we teach.
And it's not. And it's a mindset, but the action steps are literally easy.
It is, and
I
it's
mean-
the opposite of what you think you have to do, and then that's what makes it so easy.
Okay, so here's what I want you to do. If you're ready to start aligning your actions with your actual goals and not your feelings, I want you to do me a favor. I want you to pause this video and I want you to register for a seat for the free Marriage U-Turn Masterclass that I'm doing this week multiple times. And the reason I want you to pause the video is because I have a lot of some really, really good stuff here that I'm going to give you after you do this, but I don't want there to not be any seats available because you've waited. Pause the video right now. My video editor's already put on the screen the website to go register for the free Marriage U-Turn Masterclass. The website to do that is my name, denvergriffin.com. Click on Yes, Save My Marriage, and then register for a seat for the free Marriage U-Turn Masterclass. Now, after you do that, come back to this video, and I'm going to tell you what you can do next. Okay, so I'm assuming you just did that and you've registered for the free Marriage U-Turn Masterclass. Okay, now that we've got you registered for a free seat for the free Marriage U-Turn Masterclass, this is the next thing I want you to do. If you have been giving your marriage to God, you've been praying for God to restore your marriage, but you see things are going from bad to worse, my video editor is about to put up a video, and I want you to watch this video, and this is going to wake you the fuck up, okay? Does that offend you? Does that offend you? How many of you walking in a fence, let me ask you this, you walking in a fence that me just shooting you straight here, where else is that showing up in your life? Where else is that showing up in your life? Has it showed up in your marriage, walking in a fence? Now, let me ask you this next question. What has it been costing you?
And I have to stop you and say, too.
Go ahead.
Because I know this from personal experience with both of us. How you show up in one area of your life is how you show up in every area of your life, whether it's work, your relationship with your family, like your children, friends, and your marriage. So all of this goes together, and this is what we focus on. Just saying.
100%. So for those of you, so two things I'm going to do for you. I'm going to pitch you to the next video. If you've been praying for your marriage to be restored, let me give you some action steps that will help you understand the reason it hasn't already happened. The next video, my video editor is going to put that up. This is going to wake you up in regards to this area. I on purpose use offensive language in these videos. Here's why. Before I started doing YouTube videos, I really didn't talk like this, did I? The reason that I did this is to get people to snap out of it. Stop using your creator as a crutch. I believe in God with every fiber of my being. I have a medically diagnosed, instantaneous, supernatural miracle on my deathbed. I was dying, and God sent angels to talk to me. But they gave me action steps. And if I had not have been obedient to follow those instructions, I wouldn't have received the miracle. So trust me when I tell you, I am a Christian. I'm radically different. I run a program called Divorce Stoppers.
It's a men's program.
In the men's program where I help men restore their marriage when the wife doesn't want to, it is radically different than anything else that you've looked at. I had a student recently that enrolled that said, I'm going to do something crazy. It's not crazy, but it is radically different. It's wisdom like Solomon. It's aligning your actions with your goals. For some of you, if you know that you actually need that program, I'm going to tell you this. Watch the next video when your wife has a wall up and the prayer's not bringing it down. This is going to give you some insight.
Yeah.
I'm assuming you already registered for the free Marriage U-Turn Masterclass. Do that masterclass. For those of you that know that you want to become a student of our paid program, do me a favor. Do not expect one of my enrollment coaches to be me. No. I have an enrollment coach named Tyler. He's Mr. Nice Guy. He wants to give away the store and do everything for everybody. He is not me. No. Do not expect him to have the same wisdom that I have. He has only been with me for a few months. He has not ran this program for 11 years, and he has not been in a failed marriage that almost saved and then went through it again and helped thousands of men restore their marriage. Do not expect him to be like me. If you know that you need that program, watch enough of my YouTube videos to make sure that what I do with men is your cup of tea.
Yes.
And then if you want somebody to help you become one of my paid students, then go and beg them to let you in and do your best to convince them that you're a good fit. That is Tyler's only job.
100%.
Do not try to get him to freaking convince you. And be respectful of him on the call.
Yes.
100%. Outside of that, we don't need any more students, but if you feel like that we're a good fit and you need our help, we're happy to help you, okay?
That's why we're here.
So the next video, if you've been praying for your marriage to be restored, I want you to do me a favor right now. Subscribe to this channel if you haven't already done that, but for yourself, press the bell notification and make sure the changes say all, because you could be one video away from that train that's heading to Mexico City with her being in the driver's seat, right up, snuggled up to another guy, her boyfriend, maybe even pregnant with that guy's baby. You could be one video away from turning that train around, and I'd hate for you to miss it because the algorithm promotes evil instead of things that are helping people.
You'll see everything that's put out by hitting that bell.
You 100% will. I love you guys. I hope I offended you to change today.
See you soon.
Bye.